Hey, what's going on everyone? Welcome back to a brand new video. As you see on screen here, beside me I have officially the youngest pro in North America, Alexander T.
Hello everyone.
Welcome, Alex. So I forced Alex to be in this video with me today because Alex just became pro last week, and so it was such an amazing news for both the community, because we had two brand new, very young pros that have just joined the NAGF pro team, and so they're very promising players. And also Alex has been my student, and we had been preparing for this pro qual for pretty much since the start of the year. So today what we're going to do is, first we're going to look at the final game that Alex played against Eric Yoder in the North American Go Federation's Pro Qualification Tournament. And then we're going to talk a little bit more casually with Alex. I'm going to ask him some questions about his journey and how he got here. So with that, let's get started.
So this is my second game against Eric, and I'm currently up 1-0.
I remember in that first game it was quite a game. You pretty much killed the whole board.
Yeah.
So how are you feeling when you start this game? You really confident now?
Actually I was quite nervous because if I win this game I'm pro. So
Of course.
Yeah, and I feel like he didn't play his best in our first game, because I've played him before, and he definitely didn't play his best in the first game.
Yeah. Yeah. So in the first game, it was very gruesome. It was a lot of fighting, but it seemed like you were pretty much in control for the whole game.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, in the opening, Eric played the 3-4 point, which he actually never plays the 3-4 point. He always plays the 2-star opening. And after this, he started playing exactly how Kevin started playing against me in our third game of the best of 3. And in that game, Kevin's strategy was to build a Moyo and let me invade and attack me. So I think he was using that same strategy. But in this upper right corner, I decided to Atari this to break his Moyo.
So this kind of local slight loss, but it takes the direction that prevents the Moyo. Interesting. So Kevin is the other pro who's kind of like a rival with you, right? You're very similar age and also kind of similar strength. So we'll definitely talk a little more about that later.
Yes.
So you're saying he kind of used a strategy where he mimicked almost Kevin's opening. Interesting. So did that work against him in the end? Or what do you think about that?
I think he tried playing solidly this game, which usually that's not his style. He usually plays very aggressive, and I think that ended up working against him because he wasn't very familiar with the shape of the game.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, if you're really used to playing a certain way and you suddenly change that, then your familiarity is just generally lower. So that can be a little difficult in such a high a game with such high stakes.
Yes. He was also spending a lot of time in the early stages. So here is another critical moment of the game. Eric started Buyomi, and this was his first move in Buyomi. And this is actually a pretty big mistake. After this move, Eric started to misread.
That's very interesting because, for a lot of things, there are a lot of things I kind of thought about here. Because first you mentioned he kind of played not using his regular style, which maybe caused him to spend a lot more time during the opening. So now he's in Byoyomi and he's it's extremely nervous, and both players are thinking very hard for the next move, right? But then when you're in Byoyomi, you're just being super rushed, and it's really hard to find the right move. And so I guess this is the first turning point of the game.
Yes. And here Eric misread, and white starts to take a lead.
So that's definitely a bad result for black, because black didn't really gain anything from that exchange. But it looks like black still has to fix the top right corner there.
Right.
Yeah. And then what happened after?
And then after this, we continued the endgame. But after this, I think Eric got flustered and he started making overplays. And then he died again, and then he resigned.
Oh, wow. So you're actually very stable these games.
Yeah.
So that's something you've been working on, isn't it? So I'm very, very happy to see that, this performance. So that's kind of very important highlight. So it was actually a stable game, but it's a little bit surprising to the players for the very last game, because Eric didn't seem like a stable player before this. So that was kind of interesting. Yeah. And when you're in Byoyomi, even though no matter how long the Byoyomi is, but you're forced to play within that certain amount of time. That pressure and that mentality, it completely changes, and it's very hard to play the right move all the time.
Yeah.
So that was it. After winning this game, what happened after when you won? Did everyone come over? What was that? What was it seem like?
Everybody came over. Yeah. And then they congratulated me. Did a little bit of a review.
Wow. So who's the first to come?
I think they actually all came as a group.
Okay. So was your dad there? And what was?
Yeah, my dad was there. He started reviewing the game before.
Okay.
Actually, congratulating.
Okay. I see. But I'm sure you've also felt that moment.
Yeah.
Because I remember I was actually out of town and I didn't make it to the tournament, but I got a lot of texts from him about this news. So I'm sure it was like everyone was super excited to hear this, and I bet he's the most excited when Eric resigned. So we kind of talked about the atmosphere after winning the game, right? But what was your personal feeling? Like, what did you feel?
I felt this rush of excitement. It's very happy, obviously.
Yeah.
Of
course. And did it stay with you?
Yeah, it was. The car ride back, it stayed like the whole time. So it's about a 4-hour drive to Washington D.C.
And so you were feeling that adrenaline. I mean, it is just such a big achievement, right? I mean,
right.
A lot of people can work their whole lives, right, for something like this. And something I like to say is, like, if you can achieve one thing of this magnitude, then you can achieve anything in your life. Yeah. So that's very cool. Now, that's a lot of people are wondering, how did you train? So can you tell us a little bit about, kind of when you started learning Go? What was it like? What was the atmosphere? When did you start? And how did you get from beginner to, say, 4Dan?
So I started 6 years ago. My dad introduced me to the game, but my first real teacher was Feng Yun, professional 9Dan, and she helped me with the basics, and I really started understanding the game, and until I was about Dan level, I did a lot of life and death problems, and I played quite a bit online. And then I guess that continued through my upper Dan levels. I got a new teacher, Ryan, and I started playing more, and I started reviewing professional games. And then the development of AI came out, and I used the AI to review my games.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. So Feng Yun is a very famous professional 9Dan teacher who lives in New Jersey.
Yes.
And so in terms of the timeline, you said 6 years. That means you were 8 when you
Yes.
first. So you knew nothing about Go when you were 8, and then your dad introduced you, and then you started learning from Feng Yun. And then when did you become Dan level?
I think maybe 2 or 3 years after starting the game.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
2 or 3 years, so when you were 10 or 11.
Yes.
Yeah, but I remember I met you when you were 11, and you were like 3 or 4 Dan. So it must have taken you less time then to get to 1 Dan.
Maybe.
Maybe. Yeah, so I guess it's hard to say. I mean, this might, a lot of the time when some people kind of hit Dan level, right? Even though naturally you would think that improving from, say, Q level, right? When you hit Dan level and you're trying to get to high Dan, people kind of naturally think it's harder because, it's higher level, you have to know more things, the depth is it's much deeper. But it's not necessarily the case. A lot of people can shoot up Dan levels just because they had a lot of good basics, and suddenly they started have a higher understanding of things like life and death and shape. So that gives us a very good idea of your road and timeline to where you are now. I bet a lot of people are wondering, so what's the time that you allocated to each section? So maybe we can divide that into 2 parts, like before you were 4 Dan. How much time did you spend on things like life and death problems and pro games and game reviews and playing games?
So before I was 4 Dan, I maybe spent half an hour a day on life and death. And I didn't really review many pro games. Maybe I played 2 or 3 times a week online.
Mm-hmm.
And
This was actually quite casual.
yes.
Yeah. Wow.
And after 4 Dan, that's when I started investing a lot more time.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe now it's like an hour a day of life and death, and maybe an hour of studying programs, and then play a game every day.
Mm-hmm. So 3 hours every day on Go, at least.
Yes.
Wow.
Maybe a bit more, because the game usually takes more than an hour.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So what I was really impressed was how consistent you were, I think. So especially when you when you got to 4 Dan, right? You knew you liked the game and this is something you want to pursue further. And then you were extremely consistent in all of your studying. And I think that really took you a long way, right? A lot of people can devise different study schedules, but if you can stick to just a fixed thing every single day, it really takes you a long way. and like even though you were learning and you were taking some class in Filippo and you were taking some classes with us and with me and Feng Yun, right? But you were like you have to be consistent, right? If you're kind of if you study 5 hours in one day and then give up and and then give up for a week, right? It's going to be a lot harder, no matter how many teachers you have or how good your materials are. So that's extremely important.
Mm-hmm. It's very true.
Now, one thing I wanted to ask is there a very important person that you were thinking about when you became pro?
My dad. He kind of helped me and trained me and pushed me to study every day. Yeah, I'd like to.
So did he force you? Say, Alex, you gotta sit there and do some Go now.
He didn't really force me. I think he kind of like reminded me every day, like, hey, go play a game. Yeah, do your life and death.
So it really came from your own passion, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really important. You have to actually really like something. Yeah. But I think Alex's dad, I think that's exactly what I saw. Like, he was extremely supportive, and every time they would drive from New Jersey to New York to have lessons in person, and like doing that on a consistent schedule also takes a lot of commitment. So I also wanted to talk a little bit about Kevin. So Kevin Young, who so this year we had 2 new professionals, right? And Kevin Young is the other one with Alex. And a lot of people have been saying, okay, these 2 players are very similar age, and what's your take on Kevin? Do you consider him as a rival?
I think Kevin definitely is very strong, and I think of him as a rival because we're going to be competing with each other for these spots to represent the U.S. in international tournaments.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So who's stronger?
I think it's really close right now.
Mm-hmm. So I saw. So I'm actually about to play Kevin soon in the transatlantic finals. And we were kind of joking about how Kevin really worked hard to not have a amateur in the finals or in the playoffs in general. And so Kevin said in a Twitch interview that he worked on Go at least 8 hours every day for like the past few years. So also when you kind of see people accelerate, right? They are, a lot of people don't see how hard they actually worked offline, and that people don't really kind of take that into account. So you have to work very hard for these achievements, for sure. So I'm very keen to see both Alex and Kevin in the Go scene in the near future. Last question. So what's your ultimate goal, right? Now you've become pro, like, this is a huge achievement, right? But the road in the future is also very long. Now you have all these new opportunities, like professional tournaments. You can play in professional preliminaries. You can represent the North America in official professional tournaments. Do you have an ultimate goal in mind?
I think I want to play the top players, the top Asian pros. Yeah.
Do you just want to play them?
I think it's gonna be very hard to beat them, because they don't even go to school.
Yeah.
Just go all day, every day.
I'm trying to get you to say something really, really bold, but you're very humble and you don't want to say it. But yeah, so yeah, I think you have a very bright future, like with your talent and with your hard working. I think you have a very good chance again to challenge the top Asian pros. with that, I think I'm going to end today's video. I hope you enjoyed today's format. I was super excited to bring Alex on with me today for this video. If you have any additional questions for Alex that's different from the questions I've already asked him, feel free to leave it in a comment, and I can ask Alex again when we get the chance. So yeah, thank you so much for watching and your support, and I'll see you next time.
Bye.